South Africa's rail and freight group Transnet reported a rise in full-year profits and said it would spend 110 billion South African rands on capital investments over the next 5 years. It's also said it's looking to buy back its government-guaranteed bond from the Public Investment Corporation. Samantha Loring spoke to Brian Molefe, the CEO of Transnet, asked him about how the group and its large infrastructure programs.
Financially, we have performed very well. We have had challenges in safety, with the number of fatalities having grown from 8 to 12 compared to the previous year, as well as productivity and efficiency indicators have not been very good. So going forward, we will be focusing on safety as well as the productivity and efficiency indicators.
Let's look at what you're doing to build capacity, because of course this is key to the economy. You've acknowledged that in many ways Transnet is holding back the economy from realizing its full potential by not being able to provide the service that is needed. When it comes to CapEx, you're planning on spending around 25.9 billion rand next year. Overall, your 5-year CapEx spend is estimated to be around 110 billion rand. Looking at the new multi-product pipeline from Joburg to Durban, how much is this costing you? This is a key area of CapEx spend, and what is the timeline for this project?
The total cost of the pipeline, which started a few years ago, will be 23.9 billion when it is completed. In December, we're taking delivery of the pipeline itself, and we'll be doubling our capacity of fuels and liquids that are transported on that pipeline to Johannesburg. So we'll be doubling the capacity, but we're going to continue to build the stations, the terminal in Durban, the terminal in Johannesburg, as well as the stations in between that are going to help to pump the fuels and increase the pressure on the pipeline. So that will be completed by 2013. So what we're going into now is the pipeline is operational, but not at full capacity. And then when we have the pump stations in place, it will work fully. But the problem really in Transnet is the problem of rail, and it is a problem of reliability. So we want to introduce a more reliable freight service. We'll be introducing a scheduled railway, scheduled maintenance, and making sure that our customers will receive their goods where they want them at the time that we promised. It doesn't have to be when the train arrives in Durban or in Cape Town, whatever, but it is the time that we promised so that they can plan. And that has been the biggest problem with the service that we provide on rail. On the port side, we really have a problem at one port only, and that is Durban Pier 2. And all our other ports function well. It's berth on arrival everywhere. We have very old equipment at Durban Pier 2, and we'll be replacing it during this financial year for delivery during the next financial year.
Now, I'd like to take the argument back to the pipeline story. Apparently, it's been reported there's a 1.1 billion rand shortfall. Is this correct? And could this have implications for fuel suppliers in inland South Africa in the coming months?
1.1 billion above the 23 billion.
Within that 23 billion, is there a funding shortfall?
No, there is no funding shortfall from the figure that was approved in 2010. I know that there have been some reports about a shortfall, but from where we sit, we are confident that we can deliver the pipeline with the budget that we have, as well as the timelines that have been approved within the timelines.
Then let's move on to the freight side of the business. You are also spending a lot of money in upgrading your capacity here. You've indicated what you're doing to be incentivizing productivity and making sure that the trains run on time. When it comes to capacity and estimated capacity this year, are you on target to reach 70 million tons of coal?
Yes, I think that we've only had 2 months of operations, April and May. Okay, now it will be 3 months next week. But you must remember that during this period, we shut down the coal line for 20 days for maintenance. And this is quite critical, and I think we haven't shut down for 20 days before, but it was like a cleanup of our maintenance on the coal line. And I think that we should see the benefits of the shutdown for the rest of the year, and we could quite possibly meet the target And I'm quite confident that we will meet the target for coal transportation during this year. But we had an extraordinary shutdown of 20 days. Usually it's 10 days.
When it comes to the port side of the business, you've indicated there's a problem at Pier 2. Can you just elaborate on what you're doing to address this issue?
At Pier 2, the problem that we have there is that the cranes are very old, and the crane moves that we can get, last year we got 23 crane moves per hour out of the Pier 2 cranes. And the problem with that is that Pier 2 is the biggest port operation in the Southern Hemisphere. It's bigger than any of our ports. It is also bigger than any of the ports on the continent and on the in the Southern Hemisphere. And so as a result of that, a lot of the blockages that you see in Durban at the port are as a result of Pier 2. It's not Pier 1. Pier 1 is operating at about 28 crane moves per hour. It's not Maiden Wharf, and it's not any of the other operations. The Durban RoRo, which is roll on, roll off, which is a car terminal, is operating quite well. But the problem is at Pier 2. We have issued a tender for the purchase of 7 tandem carrier cranes. Now these are cranes that can carry 4 containers at a time. At the moment we are moving 1 container at a time with very old cranes. So the tandem carriers will be able to carry to move our crane moves per hour to close to 40 or beyond 40 from the current 23.